Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. Today, we're going to be going over the Hank concept. This is a really popular passing concept, really all over football, at every level, in pretty much every NFL team's playbook. But the Steelers ran this quite frequently last season, and this is something they've been running for years, really dating back to the Todd Haley days. So, wanted to go over this one, kind of explain the reads, show you guys some examples from last season, some successful plays, some not so successful plays, and so on and so forth. So, just before we get started, y'all know the deal. Just please make sure that you like the video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment, all that stuff is greatly appreciated on my end. When without further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's talk about Hank. So, Hank is really a pretty simple concept on the whiteboard, right? It's a mirrored passing concept, which just means that you got the same route concept on both sides. Basically, it is curl flat. You usually get some type of curl, some type of flat route, and then you get a OTB or a sit route right over top of the ball. So the curl routes can really vary in length or structure, but normally it's about a 12-yard curl and then a 5-yard kind of sit route over the quarterback. And this is a West Coast concept that I think of in the Gary Kubiak world. This has been around for probably way longer than Kubiak. He's just the one that I feel like gets brought up in terms of who brought this thing along to the NFL level. So this is an old timer play. Some people love it, some people hate it. The Steelers definitely like it. They've been running it for a long time. Pickett really likes it, I think. So it's something you can definitely expect to see more of, kind of next season. So let's look at some examples here. First one we're going to play is from the Raiders game last year. They're actually going to kind of switch up the way they run this. They're actually going to run it out of a bunch to the right. And then we will kind of go over kind of the read for the quarterback. Now, most teams, I think of the traditional way to run Hank is you'll read this thing kind of the OTB over the ball or sit route as one, and then work the curl to two, and then the flat to three in the progression. The Steelers don't necessarily read it that way. Normally, it's a pick aside type of read for Pickett. That's how he's comfortable reading it. Maybe that's how Matt Canada's teaching it in their room, which is cool. But usually Pickett's eyes go to one side of the field, whatever he likes pre-snap, and that's where he's going to throw the football. All right, so really, this is a West Coast concept that's just simple in terms of let's get a completion, right? So why I think he works the left side of the field here. So if you look at this Mike linebacker, this guy that's over the ball, we only have two defenders to the left side of the field. So this is a play that's commonly run against cover three, single high, and then just from a pre-snap perspective, regardless of what we get, cover three, cover one, we've got two receivers and two defenders. This means that we're going to get single coverage on both of these guys. Pickett ends up getting, his number one receiver, Deontay Johnson, running a hitch route. This is something that Deontay really excels at. They run a lot of hitches or stops or comebacks with him because of his ability to, get in and out of his breaks. The ball's on time. Nice throw from Pickett, and it moves the chain. So I'm going to kind of show you guys some different ways that they get to this play, some different scenarios, different coverages. The bottom right of the screen is actually a picture of a playbook that I have. It's from LSU back in Joe Burrow's historic season. You guys can look at that if you're interested. But here they're running it from trips right. Same kind of situation here. They ran this play a couple different times against the Ravens and had a bunch of success doing so late in the season. But same kind of thing for Pickett. You see that he doesn't really even check out the OTB route from Freiermuth. But, even pre-snap, we've really only got two defenders out here, right, for the two receivers. Pretty easy route. Pickett's going to look to his left. He just has to wait for Kyle Hamilton to kind of expand to the flats, which is going to create that throwing window. Looks like the cornerback's kind of cheating a little bit, playing some type of maybe trap coverage. To me, this kind of looks like a quarters look from the Ravens, but they run a lot of exotic stuff kind of on defense. But you can kind of see this safety trying to nail down on this hitch route, but good throw by Pickett in time. Just waiting, getting all the weight on the back of his foot, driving the football. I already covered this play once before on the channel. This is one of my favorite throws from Pickett last season in a really big time spot. This is 3rd and long against the Ravens, one of the last games of the season here. Commonly, I think old school traditional offensive coordinators would use Hank as a, like I said, get a completion. It's a West Coast, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands and just get a completion on the board. But more and more, I feel like teams are using Hank on third and long because of the amount of cover three that you see in these like third and 12, third and 15, third and 17, like we have right here. And this is what you're going to get from Baltimore. They're running a cover three match. And Pickett really just drives this football into this window, makes an excellent throw to Pickens. Again, I think that the way that they read this thing out is a little bit different from other teams. You also see that the Steelers, obviously, they have a long way to go for the first down, but they're going to leave these tight ends. You got Connor Hayward right here, and then you've got Jalen Warren right here, chipping the edge rushers. And that's just because, typically this is a three-step drop, but normally, if you've got further, long to go down the field, this turns into a five-step from gun. So you're going to need to allow your quarterback a little bit more time to kind of sit in the pocket and allow these routes to develop down the field. So that's why they get the chip. You get five steps. He hitches up, and then you see his hands start to separate as Pickens is coming out of his break. Really good throw right here. I think I pointed this out on the other video, but you can kind of see him having to kind of hitch up, and wait for this underneath defender to kind of just rip that throw down the middle. So really good throw there. I'm going to kind of show you guys some other examples of them using it just against some different coverages. This is against the Falcons from last year. You get another single high look, but this time it's man-to-man. But again, you see Pickett's eyes just immediately to the right side of the field. And I think that some of this is probably, again, what I said about the amount of defenders on that side of the field. You get a 2-on-2 kind of look. But I think Pickett really just has a lot of trust in Deontay Johnson, even in these matchups against these top-tier cornerbacks like A.J. Terrell. This is really good coverage by Terrell, definitely reading the route depth really well and also getting physical with Johnson. That's really good coverage. I think this ball is really low. I think it skips off the turf a little bit, so we get an incompletion here. Next play is actually New Orleans running this play against the Steelers. I wanted to show an example of what kind of coverage gives this thing problems. You really don't want to run Hank against two-man, and I'll kind of show you guys why. Obviously, we get an incompletion from Dalton there, but you don't want to run Hank against two-man because in two-man, the corners are going to play what's called trail coverage. So you see Sutton, he's immediately going to be in this trail position because he knows he has safety help over the top. And then, that's pretty problematic, right? When you're trying to hitch or comebacks or stop routes back towards the quarterback because the defender's already in between the ball there. So forces a check down here. Incompletion, that is nowhere near the first down marker as well. So I know I mentioned Gary Kubiak as kind of the godfather maybe of the Hank concept, at least in my eyes. Y'all tell me where y'all learned it first. But I also think about this as a big Doug Peterson play. Peterson runs this play kind of just nonstop. I feel like here is 3 examples from the Colts game from last year. I got this clip off of Twitter, but I wanted to show this one just to show, the different ways that teams read this out and, more of a traditional way of reading this concept, again, with the sit being the number one in the progression. You see Lawrence's eyes go down the middle during his drop, whereas Pickett's eyes are more pick a side, left or right, depending on what he sees pre-snap. So it doesn't make one way right, one way wrong. I think this is the more traditional way to read it. But the Jags do some interesting stuff in their variations as well. This is an interesting play right here. So you get, instead of, typically I said that, you get 2 flat routes, but they actually run a little bit of a stop route. He's still basically just a control player for the hitch. Lawrence gets absolutely crushed on his drop back here. They end up having to check this down to the flat. Here, the Jags are going to run this out of empty. And I think that this is another interesting way to get to the concept. But again, I just like the West Coast aspect of it, the ability to get the ball out to your playmakers on time. If you have a quarterback that you're trying to get, easy completions for in structure, this is a really quarterback-friendly concept to run. So Going to be coming with a lot more X's and O's type of stuff like this, some film study type of stuff in order to pass the time just until the preseason gets here. Got a lot of fun stuff coming to the channel. Again, if you guys made it all the way through the video, I appreciate you all. Please make sure that you like the video on your way out. Drop me a comment. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on, and I will holler at you guys next time. Peace and love.